Once upon a time, in a quaint and seemingly peaceful village named Hamlin, a dark shadow loomed over the innocent residents. This shadow was the Pied Piper, not the charming musician portrayed in the original tale, but a sinister being with a twisted agenda. The village of Hamlin was plagued by an infestation of rats. The vermin were everywhere, devouring crops, spreading disease, and causing widespread misery. The villagers sought help from the mayor and the town council, but their efforts were futile. They were on the brink of despair when the Pied Piper appeared, emerging from the depths of the forest. Unlike the colorful, lively clothes described in the traditional story, this piper wore a tattered, ebony cloak that seemed to absorb all light around him. His face was hidden beneath a haunting mask, and his eyes gleamed with an eerie, malevolent aura. The piper offered a deal. In exchange for ridding the village of rats, he demanded an exorbitant fee. The mayor, desperate to save the village from ruin, reluctantly agreed. But when the piper began to play his flute, the melody that filled the air was far from enchanting. It was a haunting tune that sent shivers down the spines of all who heard it. The rats, instead of being lured away, were driven into a frenzied madness. They tore through the village, attacking and devouring anyone who crossed their path. In the chaos, the villagers realized the true darkness of the piper's intentions. They tried to revoke the agreement, but the piper's contract was sealed with dark magic. Defying him would bring dire consequences, and the village was trapped in a nightmare of death and destruction. As the piper's sinister music echoed through the village, the rats disappeared into the forest, leaving behind a trail of blood and death. But the piper's malevolence didn't end there. With the village now bound to him by a terrible curse, he returned to exact a more dreadful revenge. One fateful night, a year after the rat infestation, the Pied Piper reappeared. This time, the haunting melody was more insidious than before. The sweet notes entranced the children of Hamlin, luring them from their beds and into the night, following the piper without question. The villagers awoke to an empty town, devoid of all the children they held dear. The grief-stricken parents begged for mercy, but the piper remained merciless. He had taken the souls of the children as payment for his services, adding them to his entourage of lost souls trapped in the darkness. From then on, Hamlin became a place of sorrow and despair. The villagers lived in perpetual fear of the Pied Piper's return, praying that their own children would not become victims to his dark allure. And so, the twisted version of The Pied Piper ends, a tale of horror, sorrow, and loss. The dark figure of the piper continues to haunt the village of Hamlin, a reminder of the price paid when deals are struck with malevolence and the darkness within the human heart. Long ago, in a distant and mystical land, there lived a young and gifted boy named Eamon. Eamon had always been drawn to the enchanting melodies that the wind carried through the forests. He had a natural talent for music and possessed a beautiful voice that could soothe even the most troubled hearts. One day, while wandering deep into the heart of the woods, Eamon stumbled upon an ancient and mysterious cave. Inside, he discovered a wizened sorcerer named Malachi, who was said to be one of the last remaining wielders of powerful dark magic. Malachi had spent years seeking an heir to pass down his knowledge and the secrets of his magical artifacts. The sorcerer recognized the potential in the young boy and took him under his wing. Over the years, Eamon learned the ancient arts from Malachi, mastering the arcane spells and rituals that were once forbidden to all but the most skilled practitioners. Among Malachi's most prized possessions was a flute, an instrument crafted from the bones of a long-forgotten creature and imbued with dark magic. The flute had an enchanting allure, capable of controlling the hearts and minds of those who heard its haunting melody. It granted Eamon an undeniable power over both people and creatures alike. Initially, the young boy reveled in the admiration and influence he held, using the flute to perform feats of wonder and bring joy to the lives of those around him. However, as the years passed, Eamon became consumed by the addictive allure of the flute's power. The constant adoration and control over others warped his once kind heart. The more he played, the more he craved dominion over people's minds, and the darker his magic grew. The dark magic of the flute exacted a heavy toll on Eamon's soul. The more he wielded its powers, the more the darkness seeped into his being. The beautiful melodies that once brought happiness now carried a tinge of malevolence, and he found himself unable to resist the instrument's maleficent allure. One fateful night, driven by the flute's dark magic, Aemon unleashed a devastating spell upon his own village. He used the flute to lure away all the children, twisting their innocent souls into an eerie chorus of lost spirits bound to the dark melody of the flute. The village was left in despair, mourning the loss of the young ones, while Aemon himself was cast out, forever cursed by the darkness he had unleashed. From that day forth, Aemon took on a new name, forsaking his former identity and embracing the title, the Pied Piper. He became a wanderer, traveling from village to village, using the cursed flute to manipulate and control, often bringing destruction in his wake. His heart had become a barren wasteland, devoid of compassion and empathy. The once gifted musician had been transformed into a malevolent figure, forever tormented by the dark magic he wielded. The Piper's twisted legacy lives on, a cautionary tale of how the pursuit of power and the temptation of dark magic can lead even the most innocent souls down a path of darkness and despair. After leaving the village of Hamlin, the Pied Piper wandered aimlessly, burdened by the weight of his cursed existence. The echoes of the haunting melody from his dark flute reverberated in his mind, a constant reminder of the darkness that consumed him. He had become a pariah, feared and shunned by all who crossed his path. In his desperate search for purpose and redemption, the Piper stumbled upon another village, a place enveloped in an eerie mist, where the sun rarely touched the ground. This village, known as Shadowbrick, was veiled in mystery and whispered tales of dark secrets and forbidden magic. As he wandered through the mist-shrouded streets, the Pied Piper encountered a woman named Alara. She was unlike anyone he had ever met, her beauty entrancing, and her eyes held a haunting allure. Alara was a recluse, rarely seen by the villagers, and many whispered that she possessed a dangerous and powerful magic. Despite the rumors, the Piper was drawn to her like a moth to a flame, for he saw a reflection of his own torment in her mysterious eyes. Their shared isolation and the weight of the dark secrets forged a connection between them. As the Piper and Alara spent time together, they discovered solace in each other's company. They shared stories of their pasts, the darkness that haunted them both, and the burdens they carried. The Piper confided in Alara about the cursed flute and the tragedy that befell the village of Hamlin, while she revealed the depths of her own mystical abilities. Unknown to the Piper, Alara's magic came from an ancient pact she made with malevolent entities that resided in the shadows of Shadowbrick. She drew power from the very darkness that surrounded her village, a pact that had a terrible price. As their bond deepened, the Piper and Alara found comfort in each other's arms, and love blossomed amidst the shadows. They believed that they could heal each other, find redemption together, and escape the darkness that plagued them. But as the Piper's love for Alara grew, so did the intensity of his dark magic. The cursed flute had become an extension of his being, and its malevolence seeped into their relationship. The music he played, once filled with the sweetness of his feelings for Alara, twisted into a cacophony of pain and despair. Unbeknownst to the Piper, Alara's dark pact began to take a toll on her. Her once radiant beauty withered away, and she became a mere shell of her former self, weakened by the relentless demands of the malevolent entities she had allied herself with. In the desperate struggle to break free from the shadows, the Piper and Alara sought out powerful artifacts and ancient rituals to rid themselves of their curses. But their efforts only fueled the darkness, leading to calamitous consequences that threatened to consume not only themselves but the entire village of Shadowbrick. In the end, the Pied Piper and Alara found that love alone could not conquer the sinister forces that bound them. The village of Shadowbrick was left in ruins, consumed by the very darkness they had hoped to escape. In this dark and twisted tale of love and tragedy, the Pied Piper and Alara serve as a haunting reminder of the dangers of dark magic and the allure of forbidden love. Their souls forever intertwined, they wander the world, each playing their own tragic melody, echoing the sorrow of a love that was destined to be lost amidst the shadows. Long ago, in a village shrouded in darkness and veiled in mystery, lived a young woman named Alara. Shadowbrick, as the village was known, was rumored to be cursed, a place where malevolent entities lurked in the shadows, waiting to ensnare unsuspecting souls. Alara had always been drawn to the shadows, finding a strange comfort in their embrace. From a young age, she displayed an uncanny affinity for the mystical arts, a gift that both fascinated and frightened the villagers. Her parents, fearful of the darkness that seemed to surround the daughter, tried to suppress her powers, but they only grew stronger with time. One fateful night, when the moon hung low in the sky, Alara ventured into the heart of Shadowbrick, where the darkness was most potent. There, amidst the gnarled trees and eerie whispers, she encountered a group of malevolent entities known as the Umbrals. These ancient beings were creatures of darkness, drawn to the fear and despair that lingered in the village. Intrigued by Alara's innate connection to the shadows, the Umbrals approached her, offering her a forbidden and dangerous pact. They promised her great power, the ability to draw magic from the very darkness that surrounded her village. In return, she had to pledge her loyalty and serve as a conduit for their malevolence, bringing misery and suffering to those around her. The temptation was overwhelming, and Alara, yearning for a sense of control over her abilities, made a desperate decision. She forged the pact, allowing the Umbrals to channel the dark magic through her, becoming a vessel for their malevolent power. As the shadows wrapped around her, Alara felt a surge of newfound energy coursing through her veins. At first, Alara reveled in her newfound abilities. She could manipulate the shadows, bending them to her will, and cast spells that brought awe and fear to the villagers. The Umbrals delighted in the chaos she unleashed, feeding off the negative emotions that swirled around her. But as time passed, Alara's heart grew heavy with the burden of her malevolent powers. The darkness that flowed through her threatened to consume her own soul. Each act of malevolence weighed on her conscience, and she became a prisoner of the pact she had forged. The price of her power was not just her own suffering, it affected the very fabric of Shadowbrick. The village fell into perpetual gloom, its people living in constant fear and despair. Crops withered, children grew sickly, and the once vibrant community became a haunting reflection of the darkness that resided within Alara. Haunted by guilt and regret, Alara tried to break free from the Umbrals' hold, seeking a way to sever the dark pact that bound her to them. But every attempt was met with more malevolence, as the Umbrals tightened the grip on her, ensnaring her further in their web of shadows. As the years passed, Alara's beauty withered away, replaced by a haunting pallor and eyes filled with sorrow. The villagers, once fearful of her powers, now pitied her as a tragic figure trapped in the clutches of malevolence. In the dark and twisted tale of Alara, she became both a victim and a perpetrator of darkness. Her magic came at a terrible price, and she found herself torn between her desire for power and the burden of the malevolence she had unleashed upon her village. She became a cautionary tale, a tragic figure forever bound to the shadows and haunted by the choices she had made in her pursuit of power.
In the aftermath of the village of Shadowbrook's destruction, the Pied Piper and Alara found themselves wandering through a desolate and forsaken land. Their love had withstood the trials of darkness, but their souls were still burdened by the malevolent magic that clung to them. As they roamed the world, they stumbled upon a forgotten, cursed castle that lay in ruins. Within its crumbling walls, they discovered a child, abandoned and left to perish. The child's eyes were filled with a sorrow that mirrored their own, and their hearts were moved with compassion. Despite their own darkness, the Pied Piper and Alara took the child under their wings, naming her Lila. They raised her as their own, nurturing her with love, and shielding her from the malevolent powers that coursed through their veins. Lila grew up in a world where magic and darkness coexisted, yet she remained untouched by the shadows, a beacon of innocence in a twisted tale. As Lila matured, she displayed an innate understanding of both her parents' gifts. She possessed the unique ability to sense and harness the magic that surrounded her, but her heart remained pure, untouched by the malevolence that plagued the Piper and Alara. Together, the unlikely family embarked on a quest to free themselves from the cursed magic that bound them. Their journey took them through treacherous landscapes, facing perilous trials and battles against malevolent forces that sought to ensnare them. During their quest, Lila discovered a hidden chamber within the cursed castle, where ancient scrolls revealed a way to sever the dark pacts that shackled her parents. Through a combination of her inherited gifts and her inherent goodness, Lila began to unravel the malevolent magic that entwined their souls. Alara, touched by her daughter's purity and bravery, decided to sacrifice her own power to break the dark pact she had made. As she released her connection to the malevolent entities that resided in the shadows of her old home, She felt a sense of liberation she had not known for years. Seeing the transformation in her mother, Lila refused to let the dark magic consume her father, the Pied Piper. She played a haunting melody on his cursed flute, but this time it was filled with love and compassion. The music resonated with the depths of his soul, sparking a glimmer of light in the darkness that had enveloped him for so long. Overwhelmed with emotions and memories of the love he once knew, the Pied Piper felt the burden of his malevolence start to lift. He realized that he could break free from the cursed flute's power, that he had a choice to reject darkness and embrace the love that surrounded him. In the end, through the selfless acts of their daughter and the love that had endured the harshest of trials, the Pied Piper and Alara were set free from the malevolent magic that had tormented them. They discovered that the love they shared with Lila had the power to transform their lives and conquer the shadows that threatened to consume them. In this dark and twisted tale of redemption and family, the Pied Piper and Alara found solace and redemption through the love of their child. The bond they formed as a family proved to be their salvation, breaking the chains of darkness that had bound them for so long. Together, they embraced their newfound goodness and set out to bring light to the world, a testament to the enduring power of love even amidst the most sinister of circumstances.
After breaking free from the malevolent magic that once consumed them, the Pied Piper, Alara, and their daughter Lila embarked on a journey to find a place where they could start anew. Their travels led them to a remote and magical village nestled in the heart of the enchanted forest. This village was a refuge for fairy tale characters, a place where heroes and villains, those with dark pasts and those with noble hearts, sought redemption and a chance at a new beginning. As the Piper, Alara, and Lila entered the village, they were welcomed with both caution and curiosity. The villagers had heard tales of the Pied Piper's dark past and Alara's malevolent magic. However, there were others in the village who had their own histories of misdeeds, and they knew the true struggle of seeking redemption. The village was a vibrant tapestry of characters from various fairy tales and folklore. There were reformed villains, brave knights, enchanting princesses, and wise witches. The village had been established as a sanctuary for those who sought to break free from their dark pasts and find a sense of belonging. As the days turned into weeks, the Pied Piper, Alara, and Lila worked tirelessly to prove themselves to the villagers. They used their unique abilities to bring joy and happiness to the community, and Lila's pure heart and innate understanding of magic endeared her to the children of the village. Gradually, the villagers began to see that the Pied Piper and his family were different from the dark figures they once were. They witnessed the love and compassion that bound the three of them together and saw how they had overcome their past to embrace a brighter future. The Pied Piper and Alara also found solace and guidance from the other fairy tale characters in the village. They learned from the reformed villains how to navigate the path of redemption, and the wise witches shared their knowledge of magic without malevolence. The knights taught them the true meaning of honor and sacrifice, and the princesses demonstrated the strength that lay within kindness and courage. In time, the village became their permanent home. The Pied Piper took up the role of the village's musician, using his flute not to manipulate, but to weave enchanting melodies that brought joy to all who listened. Alara used her magic to heal, to nurture, and to protect, becoming a guardian of the village alongside the other magical beings. Lila grew up surrounded by the stories and experiences of her newfound friends. She embraced her unique heritage, using her inherited gifts to help others and spread goodness throughout the village. Her heart was a beacon of hope, a reminder that even those with dark pasts could choose the path of light and love. Together, the Pied Piper, Alara, and Lila flourished in their new home. They found purpose and fulfillment in their roles within the village, and their presence reminded everyone that the past need not define their future. As the years passed, the village of fairy tale characters became a beacon of hope and redemption for others in need. It became a place where the fallen could rise, the broken could heal, and the lost could find their way. And amidst it all, the Pied Piper, Alara, and Lila remained a testament to the power of love, forgiveness, and the choice to embrace the light, even in the darkest of circumstances.